Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku Showboat. Today is Thursday, February 24th, 2022. Hello to the chat. Welcome. We are here. We are live to try to distract ourselves over current events, at the very least for the next 3 hours. So, in Factorio today, and over the past few days, I've done a few things. I have done a few things. The last time that we met, I set up Simic Digestion. That was basically all that we did because, well, I had a, hour and a half discussion. Like, the whole first half of the stream was just talking about what I did over the weekend and all of the stuff that I had done over the weekend, and just discussion after discussion after discussion on various topics related to our progression and what we're going to do going forward. So basically all we really did was set up some molybdenum disulfide into trioxide, about 5 per second of this. And it was successful in doing so. Discovered that, oh hey, the Simic dens, by the way, are like the biggest building in the mod. They are larger than the Muckmo pasture by a tile. These things are 16 by 16. It's absolutely gargantuan. But still, very efficient process to get into all of the things ever. Molybdenum. Oh yeah, we had a bug where the iron slime, the unslimed iron, recipe wasn't actually unlocked, even though I picked it on this tech. I had picked the iron conversion, and for whatever reason, it hadn't actually unlocked the iron recipe, which was pretty stupid. So I had to run my first command of the save to actually unlock the Simic iron recipe here. I have not gone and done the Simic iron yet, and I haven't done the aluminium digestion yet, and I haven't really expanded the molybdenum digestion. I wanted to go and expand and do all three of these things, but I said that I wanted to do vanadium today. As it turns out, in order to do vanadium today, and hello, welcome to the stream, live, I had to do a few things. I had to do quite a few things to really be ready to set up vanadium today. So let's go through the list of all of the things that I've done. I have posted this list on my Discord server as well. The first thing is that over here at logs, last time I saw that I unfortunately forgot to void the pure sand on the tailings production to make the logs over here on my expansion that I had done off screen. So I've gone and I've fixed that. I am now voiding the pure sand, and I do now have the full 30 per second of log production that I thought I had scaled to. That's 15 times 2 there. I've also set up Zifo, or Zihifo, however the heck you want to pronounce that. I've done this over here in this area. It involved making fish food as well as the Zifo. So fish food, yeah, it's lard and it's skin and it's bones. Lard, skin, and bones on the fish food among biosamples fish, because for whatever reason you need fish to make fish food that the fish then eat, as well as faugi seaweed, as well as plastic and steam to make this basic fish food. When I get Zipir are better for skin. And I may be switching this lard to be produced from Fagnot bones. I may scale the bones being made out of Fagnots and steam them into lard, because that recipe can take productivity modules, which means it ends up in the long term being more efficient per creature to get all of your lard from Fagnot bones as opposed to getting lard directly out of trits. Now, normally trits will give the most lard per unit creature, as I have to ban a bot. Normally trits will give the most lard per unit creature, but at the end of the game, after a few tech upgrades, they end up giving, I think, 15 lard per creature. Fagnots will give 15 bones per creature at the end game. So, because bones to lard are 1-to-1, adding steam, and because that can additionally take productivity on top of that, you gain the productivity by using Fagnots. You gain the entirety of the amount of productivity from the modules that you have going into those buildings, producing lard from bones. So, more efficient for Fagnots. However, Fagnots use more ingredients to make than trits do. Trits eat up a lot of logs and a lot of seaweed and moondrop, but it's very few ingredients versus the Fagnots, looking at 0.8 versus 0.8, which end up needing a lot more ingredients, but far fewer of those ingredients overall. So I'm going to prefer these for lard going forward, to do bones into lard going forward. So I have a bit of work ahead of me to switch over again, which unfortunately means that I don't really have a use for trits right now until we get their whatever photophores out of them. Is it a photophore? Yeah. When we need photophores, they are only made by trits. We will need them for dynamycin. Maybe if I even do dynamycin, if I need to do so, I will not need anti-tumor or lab-grown brains. So I may just not need trits at all. Like, okay, fine, great. So that was the fish food. Over here we have the actual Zipho. It's 5 per second, but I accidentally set up twice the amount of pools as I needed, because when I made my plan, it only ended up with one module in it, despite being the Mark II building. I missed placing in the additional module when I upgraded the building to Mark II, so it could be up to 10 if I scaled everything else around it by double. So I'm just going to leave it as is. This particular recipe uses fish eggs, albumin, blood meal, and fish food, as well as phytoplankton and pressurized water. Not that difficult. Oh, and sap and filtration media as well. The fish eggs I can get out of phytoplankton and filtration media and saline. So it's pretty easy to get into the fish eggs as well as the albumin from blood here. And it just makes our Ziffo. So our Ziffo is taken care of for our vanadium today. Hello and welcome. Well, welcome to the whole stream, PY. Just going over some of the things that I've done between streams here. The next thing I did was I have scaled Nexalit. I have, in fact, doubled my Nexalit production up to a full red belt, 30 per second. Essentially, I just copied what was here and pasted it right over here, and then copied what was, or placed down my more efficient setup for the sand, because I redid my little array on sand to save like a tile on the vertical and the horizontal. So it's a little bit more compact, and that let me barely sneak in this. I also had to adjust this compared to this section, make it a little bit more tile efficient in here. You can see there's this gap here that's not present here at all. There's a gap, one tile here that I've closed in as well among this section. So full 30 per second ideally. So we're at 477 hours now. Over the past week, over the past week, I've put in about 70 of those hours in 1 week. So yeah, progression has been happening. So after Nexalit, it's Ulrich. Up here at Ulrich. Yeah, this is completely different now. I am doing Ulrich cubs. I'm making 15 per second of Ulrich. It is the same general cub process as before. This is just bedding plus Ulrich food equals cubs. Well, with water, a lot of water, so much water for these things. These things just use a ton of water. And then raised with Vital Serum and cages, and it overproduces on cages because of productivity in these creature chambers. The glorious 48% productivity bonus. Oh, I actually need to come over here because I didn't have enough productivity modules. In fact, not every pup raising or cub raising recipe can have productivity. There are a few that do take productivity, though, and I am absolutely using that when I can. Now, because they are productive at a building level productivity bonus, it will always give me more cages than what I put in. Always. Just it magics cages out of nothingness. So I have to deal with them in some way. Also deleted the entirety of the rest of the build that was already here, and that took a while. That's 10-hour days. Yeah, see, I don't really have much of a life outside of doing this, so yeah. I spend basically every waking moment on my computer anyway. Yeah, now that I have the cub tech, I'm raising cubs. Basically everywhere. Everywhere that I can raise cubs, I am raising cubs. Even at Simic over here. Like, oh gosh, so much stuff. These are all Mark 1 buildings. That's why there's so many. This is 5 Simic per second, by the way. 5 versus the 15 Ulrich with Mark 2 Ulrich buildings over here. But yeah, that's taken care of. I needed this to get into extra bone meal. Because I have now changed organic solvent production over here. Previously, I was making organic solvent via acetone, and it was making organic solvent plus ammonia. at about a rate of 250 organic solvent per second, and it was constantly moving because it was voiding the excess of both. Now, because I have abiotic ammonia, I don't need that ammonia production to move, so I just have removed that from the equation, and I could look at other ways of getting into the wonderful organic solvent down here. There is a recipe that takes in aromatics, activated carbon, and a bunch of bone meal that is able to take productivity modules that to make organic solvent, and that's what I've gone with here. I have made the aromatics locally through a more compact version of my benzene build over here. So each one of these units I have now modified and made a lot more compact. Each one is ultimately capable of producing 200 units per second of benzene and aromatics. So whenever I need aromatics now, I can set down these units when I need a lot of them, because, you know, it'll get a little bit unwieldy if I'm trying to move around 2,000 plus units of aromatics. Are those boxes the newest pipe? Yes, they are. And yes, they are ugly. I know. I've said this so many times already. These boxes are the best pipes in the game. They're also the ugliest pipes in the game. Yeah, they are the ugliest pipes in the game. So yeah, this is why I made all of the Ulrichs. This uses like over 4 Ulrich per second going into this bone meal for the 1,000 organic solvent per second. 1,000 units is what I believe I planned it for. Where is that plan? I don't see it. It's lost behind something. Because some of these plans I ended up putting additional blocks inside. I don't even remember. It's somewhere. It's somewhere in the mess. Here you are. Yeah, it uses 11.2 activated carbon and 33.5 bone meal from 4.7 Ulrich. There you go. There's that, and 446.5 of the aromatics, so I needed 3 of these setups, unfortunately. So that one is that. I needed to also scale the activated carbon, because it's using like 11 point something. I scaled the activated carbon a bit. This is 10, but this is times 3. Where is that again? Is there a way to organize the recipe blocks so I don't see all of them all the time? Unfortunately, I don't believe so, no. I don't think I can hide this. The thing is just going to get longer and longer and longer. I'll have to go through and delete the things that are no longer relevant anymore. How is the base doing? I am going over that right now, over the things that I have done between episodes, but basically at this point there are very few things that I still need to scale. I need to do some high-grade processing for tin and titanium, I believe, but other than that, we're looking forward now at new stuff. We have lots of things, and right now I was going to talk about the activated carbon over here. I'll need more zinc, I think, at some point as well, but the activated carbon units that make 10 per second times 3. It needs nitrogen, just not that much nitrogen though, so I didn't bother changing how I get it for this process. Bringing in sodium hydroxide from where I'm making it and providing it on the train network, and using a ton of coal for all of this, but there it is. It's very nice, and I can use that most definitely. I am making Aerofloat 15 in a different spot than I had originally planned to. I am making it near a source of sulfur somewhere up here, and I've completely forgotten where that actually is. It's here. Hello. So Aerofloat 15 and Chrysalic acid, I am making at a rate of 100 per second of each of these net out. This is made through phosphorus, whatever stuff. This stuff, pentasulfide, whatever. Made out of sulfur plus phosphate rocks. It gives a bit of pyrite excess. I could make more of this stuff using the pyrite, but I'm just avoiding it. I don't care. It gives a trace amount anyway of excess and just makes the logistics more difficult. From there, I also need creosote for the actual chrysalic acid made out of bitumen-based tar, as well as I need phenol, which I have a lot of phenol right now, as well as a lot of nextlet right now, able to feed into this to make that chrysalic acid, and then add in aromatics to the chrysalic, as well as this phosphorus pentasulfide, whatever, pentasulfide. Makes Aerofloat 15, and it's making, the 100 of it. I wanted to have that for high-grade processes as we go along. I don't think I'm using it right now, but soon. Soon! Kerosene. I am making 1,000 units of kerosene at this point. Right over here. And this is the first time I have ever done phytomining. 1,000 units of kerosene via phytomining looks a little bit like this. If this doesn't look like all that much, that's because it's not all that much, and it's very convenient. So for this, we need 10 zinc-enriched moondrop flowers per second to get 1,000 kerosene, and also 20 ash that I have to deal with. These flowers I'm making out of a zinc-enriched biomass plus seeds plus methane. Not that much of any of it. The biomass, there are options. I could have actually added a chelator recipe and made those out of yotoi for an even more efficient way, but, it's only using 0.4 kicalc to begin with, so, hello and welcome to the stream. I'm just discussing the kerosene right now, which I am making through phytomining. Extremely simple process. That it was a joke, and as it turns out, there's a process identical to this that I had already mentioned for making diesel. It uses Renea instead of kicalc, but it's also an extremely useful process. I could very easily make 1,000 diesel out of doing this. It's amazing. It is rather amazing to get into diesel and to get into kerosene. And at Purple Science, I think it's Purple Science anyway. Yeah, at Purple, there is gold-enriched biomass that is unlocked from Nauvis to make gasoline out of gold-enriched moondrop flowers. This is also an incredibly simple process to get into infinity gasoline, and I like the concept of infinity gasoline. I really enjoy the concept of infinity gasoline. That will save me so many resources to do it this way. But that's at Purple Science, and you know what? It's made me want to actually do that brain biocomputing for Purple Science. It must be taking a lot of my computer resources to work. Well, consider that the game is still running at 60 frames per second until I zoom out on the map, where we are just starting to dip below 60 frames per second now when looking at the entire base. I have a pretty good computer. I recently, within the past several months, updated to a Ryzen 7 5800X CPU, which is better than what I had before. Not a lot, not night and day difference, but still better to some extent. And I've been building in a better way than I usually do, generally speaking, so it's able to sustain this base a bit better. From kerosene, I now also have, that's very relevant to the vanadium processing chain, tailings dust. I have a tailings dust factory, making a not insignificant amount of tailings dust, because this vanadium that we'll be working with today, in order to make the 15 that I will be making, 15 per second that I will do today, I needed how much? How much tailings dust? 62.2 per second. More than 2 red belts worth of tailings dust to make this vanadium pentoxide. So I'm making 75 per second out of this factory, which, yeah, I've got a lot. I've got a lot. And the stack size, by the way, on tailings dust is the highest of anything. It is 1,000 units per stack. Most stuff caps at 500. This stuff is 1,000 per stack. So we have 640,000 units stored in these bulk rail loaders over here. So that's a thing. That is most definitely a thing. It's also a bunch of acid gas if I wanted to make use of it. I don't see the need at this point to make use of it. From there, slight detour to talk a little bit about my acetone phenol area, because I have done something to that is rather important. It was nearby. Where the heck do I keep that thing? Where is it again? I've completely forgotten. Acetone phenol. You know what? Here. Acetone. You. This spot. I did not like that I was voiding both phenol and acetone in this build to keep them both running at all times, because it constantly consumes like 5 titanium tetrachloride to do that. So I feel like a sneeze is coming on, by the way. There we go. Sneeze conquered with the mute button. So I've finally done something that I think has been suggested sporadically here and there over time, and I have made the very first use ever of a power switch. For the first time, I have used a power switch for its intended purpose. The very first time. I did not want to have to do this, but you know what? In this case, I don't want to be spending titanium on this perpetually and voiding titanium for all intents and purposes. So this power switch, the way that it works is that I'm pulling in the amount of stuff in each container, the phenol and the acetone, okay? In the amount in the entire network, so whatever the thingy here is telling me. It says I have 159,000 units of acetone and 191,000 units of phenol connected to these red wires. I am connecting these into decider combinators, and they are checking for a specific threshold value. If we go past a specific threshold value, it's going to output a signal of A or a signal of B. I have an arithmetic combinator here to say that if A and B, output C. That's what this arithmetic combinator is looking at, is A and B, output C. I hope that this works. This is something I made up at the spur of the moment. And it shut the thing off when I hooked it up with this logic. I just hope that it turns on again. I just hope that it turns on again. I may need a lower threshold. I don't know. It depends on how the game rounds. Okay? It depends on how the game rounds. I don't know if it's going to round down to 0 the moment that it goes below the value that I set for A and B. I'm assuming it's going to do that, but I won't know until it does actually go down below that. So yeah, that's the thing. And I don't know if this arithmetic combinator, like really how it behaves with an A and B. I don't know if it's actually looking at a true false to output the C if it doesn't output C, or output C as 0 if 1 is 0. God, gate logic. I despise gate logic. I'm pretty sure it's an AND that I need to use there, but whatever. I'm looking for only when both are 1 to output 1, otherwise output 0. And that should be AND. And of course the switch is turning things off when the value of C is 1, and so it should go back on when the value of C is 0. You can flip that. It doesn't really matter which is which. So yeah, that's that little discussion. There's also next door to the acetone phenol area a little bit of biofilm. This is new because I wanted to have biofilm / needed for something. Biofilm has been on the agenda because I set up seashells. Because I have Zifo. Because I have Zifo, I can get a whole bunch of seashells. I, in fact, get 15 shells per Zifo. It's a lot. Very easily making lime now. So this is my lime pretty much going forward. Outside of the slaked lime loop for the sodium hydroxide, this is how I will get lime, and I will be going through and adjusting areas where I am making lime to use Zifo seashell lime instead, because this is just so much more efficient. It saves so much coke to do it this way. A ton of coke is spent on making lime, and just to have this as an option is fantastic. Otherwise, the biofilm itself is made out of biomass, lime, basic substrate, and rayon. I do need to still scale up my basic substrate and rayon. I will need a lot more biofilm than what I'm making now in the grand scheme. So that will need to be on the agenda very, very soon. If everything in my base were operating at full capacity right now, I would not have enough rayon and I would not have enough basic substrate. But for now, because of backlogs, because I'm not working through any tech at the moment, we're fine, and we're filling a buffer full of this biofilm. Okay, next. Iron oxide. You see right up here on the vanadium processing chain, we need 38.3 iron oxide, which meant that I needed more. So I am in fact now making 60 per second of iron oxide. All I did was come over here and doubled it. I more than doubled it, in fact, I believe. But yeah, all of the stuff to make the nitrobenzene here is now provided on the train network, so I just have brought everything in to make the nitrobenzene for the iron oxide. I very much prefer the nitrobenzene recipe for iron oxide. I've got basically infinity iron to spend on this, so it's fine. It's fine just the way it is. Next up, chronologically, was a sodium chlorate factory. The sodium chlorate I am making where I'm putting some sodium onto the train network, as well as like the saline water from over here. This is making how much? 30 per second. A red belt of sodium chlorate. What is sodium chlorate? It is a whole bunch of salt plus steam. Salt and steam. That's all it is. It's two red belts of salt to get one red belt of sodium chlorate out. And it's quite convenient over here where I'm already doing salt. From there, oleochemicals. I have scaled and switched over to using Fagnot-based lard. Oleo. Let's go. Oleochems. I am now making 300 per second net out of the oleochemicals by converting Fagnots into bones into lard. Basically, way more than doubling the infrastructure that was here, because I've essentially tripled my output. I had 100 through another creature making lard, and now I have 300. It's rather nice. This does consume nichrome. I have 15 per second of nichrome production at the moment. We're fine on that front. Next up, soda ash regeneration solution. Soda. We're looking at soda. I already had some amount of soda, but now I have much better soda. It's up here. I have 1,000 soda ash regeneration solution per second. In a method I wasn't really intending on using at this point, but it ended up being better to do it this way, frankly. The original way that I intended to do this was to have 10 of this. This is 100 per second of soda ash regeneration solution. The only thing it needs in is the coke to do voiding, making it basically out of aromatics plus out of I guess that's it. It's aromatics into biomass, into flue gas, into ash, into soda ash regen solution. It needs a lot of ash. An absolute ton of ash and a lot of saline water as well as a separate input. So 10 of these is, a lot of infrastructure. And I was partway through building it like this until I was like, you know what, this is just too much. It would be over 400 megawatts of power to power this thing. I was like, you know what, I can't anymore. There is a different way of getting into ash, and that is to get it out of raw fiber. This is actually a really good recipe. It produces a lot of ash per unit fiber. It's just that I need tons of ash for this. And I'm using a deposit as a belt balancer, by the way. What is this? 9, 10, 11, 12 to 13. A 12 to 13 belt balancer here. Ahem. Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, well, if I get my fiber out of Kickalk, my raw fiber out of Kickalk, it would need like over 13 Kickalk per second, and I wasn't about to do that. So there is another recipe to get into raw fiber. A recipe that uses only a fraction of the Kickalk. In fact, in order to do this, it only uses about 1.3 Kickalk per second. It's not that much. And that is a sugar, casein solution, sulfuric acid, and formaldehyde recipe with Kickalk to make a whole lot of raw fiber. Previously, I was hesitant to do this because there used to only be one way of getting sugar, and that was out of this tufa processing into like molasses and such to get into to sugar. It was basically potato sugar. Now we also have access to honey sugar, so all I need to do is scale up my honey, which is really simple, really easy. I went and I've done it. I have more honey now as well. Although honey only really begins to scale at purple science when we get access to the ability to convert muckmo into honey rather than ulric into honey. And it is a legit times 10 difference in the amount of output that you get by using muckmo as opposed to ulric for that. But that's not going to be here until purple science. Another reason why I now want to really get into purple science as quickly as I can. The thing that's the most steps here is to get into casein. Casein essentially comes from Corlax milk. This is processing of Corlax milk to get into this. Now, I have sufficient amount of Corlax milk. I have what I need to get into the formaldehyde. It's rather simple. It's methane plus molybdenum ore for this, and since I have infinity of the ore, it's fine. I can just make this formaldehyde very simply, as is. But Corlax milk, you have 3 options to get into the first casein mixture. Since I needed sulfuric acid anyway, I went with the sulfuric acid option to make the casein mixture. This needs to be processed into a pulp 1, which just add water, as well as a pulp 2, which again, just add water, as well as a pulp 3, which or not a pulp 3, but into an actual solid casein, which is just evaporation. It's a very simple process to get into the casein itself. It's just, you know, having to place the infrastructure down for the amount of throughput that you want on the casein. And then casein solution is adding in some sodium hydroxide and water to the casein to make the solution for the fiber. So there's soda ash. It is a build, to say the least, for 1,000 units of that. Why do I need 1,000 units of that? Because, as it turns out, vanadium pentoxide, we're going to need at least 127.4 industrial solvent. So I wanted, of course, to make 300 industrial solvent per second. As I've mentioned, I already scaled organic solvent to 1,000. I already have syngas at 1,000. The only other thing that remained was to get the soda ash to 1,000 as well, so I could continue scaling industrial solvent when I need more of it, because I'm sure eventually I'll need more of it. I'm already going to use over 1/3 of my production on this. But first, just so that we can see it, yes, I scaled up the existing honey a bit. Mark II buildings, twice the number of buildings, etc., etc. More of this. It's 140 net out of honey right now. 140 per second. And that process uses like 70 something, half of it. All right, industrial solvent. As my allergies are starting to kick me at the moment. Right over here. Bring in 3 things, mix it all together, and output it. It is as simple as that. You know what? It would help if the train actually did things, actually had a schedule. Very, very, very simple. It is productive, fortunately. That is very nice. So now we have this, because we will need this for purple science as well, to get into some of the other things for purple science. From there, before I talk about this chronological next one, I want to skip one step ahead, and that's to what I did this morning, which was I went out to my molten nickel and added more nickel plates. So I have this wonderful little build here. This very, very small little build here that converts 4 red belts of nickel ore into 150 molten nickel per second. This is the nickel that supplies my nichrome. I copied and pasted it and decided to convert all of it into plates because I need a lot more plates. Because of the other thing that I have scaled that I'll talk about next. This gives slightly more than 90, but I'm outputting 90 per second of the nickel plates to supplement my existing nickel plate production, and I absolutely have the ore for that. Don't you worry, I have the ore for that. We don't need to think about the ore for that anymore. The very final thing is, of the things that I built between streams, is hydrogen peroxide. I am making 200 per second of hydrogen peroxide, and I will need it for the vanadium pentoxide. I need it... Where? Hold up. Where? Here. Hydrogen peroxide is needed to make vanadium concentrate and used solvent from our vanadium solution. So it is used in this step right here. We need at least 63.7. So of course I decided to make 200 as a result. Now this 200 out is going to eat up 20 nickel plates. 20 nickel plates, as well as like 10 chromium, but you know what? I have the chromium right now. I have the chromium. It also requires a lot of aromatics for the and a lot of liquid nitrogen / nitrogen for the anthraquinone, or however the heck you pronounce this. It needs a lot of resources to get into this stuff for the hydrogen peroxide. Note that I am already making hydrogen peroxide at etching solution. You need this for etching solution, but I needed more of it, and I needed so much that it wouldn't fit at my spot where I'm making the etching solution right now. So yeah, we're doing it this way. Now over here we have the standard unit, 4 of them, for making the aromatics. I needed over 700 units of aromatics. This makes 800. So that's fine. That's the aromatics sorted. What about the liquid nitrogen? Well, as it turns out, I would have needed over 700 units of nitrogen. To do that through destructive distillation columns, I would have needed hundreds. Yeah, to do that out of destructive distillation, where is that recipe? Right there. If I wanted like 770, it would have been 97 DDCs. So I looked into better ways of getting into nitrogen than to place down, while free, yes, a lot of space. A lot of space. I was concerned by space and just, you know, tedium of building 97 DDCs for this build. And as it turns out, there is a better way. There is a better way that I now have access to. That way... Oh, I didn't... frick. I need to actually adjust this to get the full output a little bit, because I did this a little bit differently than the plan. We can clean air. Because guess what? I have biofilm now. And I have a lot of activated carbon spare to spend on this. And you know what? I think it's a fair trade to spend, you know, 0.9 activated carbon and 0.1, less than 0.1 biofilm to get 740 nitrogen. Do I need to... Actually, you know what? I think I work just fine. This works just fine. And I'll tell you why as well, because I did things a little bit differently than this plan. This plan sums up everything together, but there is an internal loop here. You see how you get liquid nitrogen and you need liquid nitrogen for this. This actually loops nitrogen. This 49.4. This 5 is actually rounded up. This 5 is actually 4.94 and not 5. So what you can do here is you have your nitrogen, as long as you have enough in the pipes, you can loop them together in a closed loop system, and that's what I've done here. I used an extra compressor to have a closed loop between the two steps of this making nitrogen to process into the liquid nitrogen to use, and it makes nitrogen. So yeah, you filter some pressured air with activated carbon, you get purified air, you evaporate that into cold air and nitrogen using a little bit of liquid nitrogen. You then filter that cold air with biofilm, you get a little bit of cold clean air, goodbye Dolly, and petroleum. You wet scrub that cold clean air, and you get a ton of nitrogen and a trace amount of CO2. This is part of a helium chain, but it actually is far better at making nitrogen than it is at making helium. There are much better ways to get into helium than this. So that's how I'm going to be working on getting my nitrogen going forward whenever I need a bunch of nitrogen, rather than doing the DDC stuff, because this is significantly smaller to get into the nitrogen. And then from there, it's just make enough liquid nitrogen to supply the system. So that's really the infrastructure stuff I wanted to talk about before getting into the meat of things today. I think there was another topic to mention outside of this, and that is I noticed something interesting with Purple Science regarding the Vonix. So Purple Science needs alien enzymes, and alien enzymes need venom glands, which exclusively come from Vonix. But currently, I don't have a way of extracting venom glands directly from Vonix. I only have the full render recipe. Fortunately, I have the full render recipe, but that means I have to make quite a bit of the Vonix, quite a lot of the Vonix for this. It also uses a pretty large amount of arthropod blood, but you know what, makes a rather large amount of arthropod blood for this, which is a good thing to note, but I only really need the venom glands for this. We have two options. We could do bioscaffolds, bioprinting, but no, I'm not, because it's a lot more work. A lot more work. You need Scrondrix and you need Dingrits at minimum set up for this, and I'm not doing that specifically to make those bioscaffolds, and you need like a lot of work towards great alien samples as well. So then we're faced with this to make the Vonix. And you know what? Vonix has changed. They made Vonix use Archon honey barrels, which is annoying. They did not used to need Archon honey barrels, but they changed that at some point. They now need Archon honey barrels. They eat Augs and Muckmo to make the eggs and then raise the eggs into the adults. I do have the recipe unlocked to make the cub, to raise the cub from the eggs. You basically just adds a step where it's eggs, cubs, adults. However, that recipe to actually raise the cub to the adult needs biopolymer, and that doesn't unlock yet. That's not unlocked yet. So it's another one of those stupid technology issues where we have a recipe unlocked which needs an ingredient that's locked behind a tech that's further down the tech tree, behind the next science level, which sucks. which absolutely sucks. So this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm stuck with for the moment, and I'm going to have to like void a whole bunch of excess stuff to get the venom plants for this. Just something I wanted to mention that I had noticed. So after all of that discussion, it's time to set up vanadium. It is that time. Why do we need vanadium is a wonderful question. Did I ever put down a place for this? I don't think so. I need to decide where I want this to live. I was thinking over here, right about there. I need enough space for the train station, so right there should be fine. I already have all the infrastructure buildings that I need for this. Why do we need vanadium? We need vanadium because it gets used in so much of late game stuff. It is required to get into super alloy, as well as into super steel. Both of these things. It will be required for making some various Mark III buildings as well. It will be needed to make superconductors here for even more buildings. And late game stuff. Very late game stuff. Yeah, so just it's needed for so much overall stuffs as we go along that I need a significant amount of it, which is why I am making 15 per second now, and we'll see when / if I will need even more than 15 per second. Now, of course, unfortunately, Pyandon was a bit of a pain and decided, you know what? No longer shall any of these steps take productivity. I remember the days. The first time I played through Pyandon's mods. Oh, hello. The first time that I played through Pyandon's mods, every single one of these steps took productivity modules. Every last one of them. But then I was a dummy. And I actually pointed out that all of them took productivity modules. And there was a problem that resulted from this. That problem was that there is, in this system, a loop of vanadium solution. You put in exactly the same amount that you get out on this step up here, with a bunch of steps in between. Every single one of these steps could take productivity modules. Every one. Which means that you end up with more vanadium solution. My mod does not allow any of these steps to take productivity. Excuse me, but no. I did not touch vanadium in my mod. I very specifically did not change this. Because it can't. It should not take productivity, because you end up with infinite vanadium solution. And just, you know, scaling into infinity without any need for any other input in here. Or no more need for as much of an input in here. When you can just magic vanadium solution out of nothing, basically, but productivity, you end up with no longer even needing the Zippo for the arthropod blood for this, or any of the prior steps inputs. So no more methanol at all in here. No more Yes, you still need you still need the blue liquor. So you need the tailings dust, but you won't need to do this first step here at all to get into the Vanadins. It's just gone. It's just gone. Would I need the acid strip? I would still. So you know what? It doesn't save as much as you would think, but gets rid of the arthropod blood. That's for sure. So basically, when I pointed out, oh hey, there's this infinite loop here, a quote unquote violation of the laws of thermodynamics. Every single step no longer could take productivity. I think that these last 4 steps should absolutely be able to take productivity. At the very least, the final step should take productivity in here. The precipitate into the bulk of the pentoxide output. This can safely take productivity, as can the previous 3 steps. Really, everything after the return of vanadium solution is something I would consider adding productivity to, but nothing in between. Nothing in between can take it because of this looping vanadium solution in here. Now, I will say that a lot of people get very turned off by the concept of vanadium processing. For whatever reason, people look at vanadium and they're like, what the hell is going on here? And get immensely confused and think that it is far more complicated, difficult than it actually is. It is not particularly difficult, especially if you're not making that much of it either. I was put off by the reputation of vanadium initially on my first playthrough, but when I actually did it, I was like, what? This is nothing. This is not that bad. This is not bad at all. It is a particularly linear process, ultimately. All right, I need my bots to place these. Yeah, I'm not going to have enough room, so I'll have to rotato. Now I need my bots to place these because of the tech upgrade on the slaughterhouse that gives me productivity of 20%. If I have my nanobots place them, I don't actually get that productivity bonus. Just nanobots being nanobots, and the creator of nanobots being extremely stubborn about how it's been coded. I think the nanobot stuff is technically like a revived building, which is a different like event that triggers when you build a building out of these. That's 2 sets of 9, isn't it? All right, that is those. Ta-da. So much nicer when I don't have to deal with the cages, huh? Part of me at times wishes that cages just weren't part of the experience at all. They don't really add anything. I mean, you could realistically have all of the creatures exist as their module form, their uncaged form, and have all of the slaughtering recipes use the uncaged forms for all of the creatures, and you lose essentially nothing from the entire experience. It really only exists to make your logistics more difficult. That's it. That's it. That's all. That's all. That's all it is. It's the only reason why it exists. I mean, yeah, it's a bit expensive early game. It is an early game challenge to overcome, but in a playthrough that's going to be several hundred hours long, doesn't really matter in like the grand scheme of the whole playthrough. Does it really? I mean, conceptually, I get it. I understand why you would want to have caged animals, but is it really adding anything like compelling to the experience? Especially when it causes problems with elements of your design, like in here, where you've added a technology that adds productivity to these creature chambers, and now all of a sudden I have infinity cages. Because I ultimately make more cages out of this than what I put in, due to the productivity mechanics. And the pups, the cubs, none of the cubs and pups are in cages. So why do we need to cage the adults when we don't have to cage the babies? They add very little to the overall complexity, and things work fine without them, so why do we need them? Definitely something I would consider just removing if I were doing a balance pass on Pyandons mods myself, just to change things, make it a little bit smoother of an experience overall. Would definitely consider just killing cages and replacing all of the recipes that use caged animals with the uncaged variant. Requesting the Zehifo at Vanadium. This is also going to supply Vanadium. This will be a depot for Vanadium. I always have to think about how to spell this freaking stupid word, because I always want to spell it how I say it. Am I burning the excess cages? Yes, I am. I am burning the excess cages. And it's like, oh yeah, now this build that otherwise doesn't need to have a solid fuel now needs a solid fuel because the productivity is giving me more cages than what I need. Because this would otherwise be a closed system that's just looping the cages over and over and over again, exactly as many in as out, but because of productivity bonuses, I end up with way more cages, and so I have to burn them. Or store them and use them. I have to get rid of the excess at some point, so they just get burned. I mean, they're free to begin with, so it's okay to just burn them. But still, it completely annihilates the actual recipe to make the cages, right? Like, do I need this anymore if I can just magic cages into existence? You really love the way the train loaders work? Well, this is a mod that's bulk rail unloaders and bulk rail loaders. It makes it really easy to set up stations like this. I just need to be mindful of the spacing between each station. This is fine for general purpose spacing, but sometimes I need a little bit more. Anyway, we have our blood here. So that is that step taken care of. What's eating up all the steam? Or a good portion of it? Wow, that's a lot of steam for one step. And that's more. Hold up. Wouldn't it be interesting if this ate up exactly 60 per second? Wouldn't it be very convenient if it ate up exactly 60 per second? Ahem. I actually want to cut to have that in my pastes. All right, first step of the actual build. There we go. And 3 of you. No solids here, just 3 buildings. Taking blood in as well as sulfuric acid. So because this is the first fluid, I need to actually go through the list here and build out the rest of this train station. Oh boy, the rest of this train station. Oh my goodness. So, how many solids do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6 total. And I need to be mindful about the tailings dust one, because I'll need 3. I'll need 3 belts, at least, from it. So that'll probably be the last one. And then I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wonderful and beautiful fluid stations. I can swap back to nanobots now. I'm pretty safe. I need more rail. Oh noes. Oh yeah, the other thing on that topic of the cages. You may have noticed, oh hey, I'm doing cub raising. And I mentioned how, even without productivity modules, the cub raising is a net neutral. Is a net neutral on cages. You need cages to supply the system initially, but once you've set up the system with enough cages to keep it moving, you don't need to add more. So it's not like you're consistently consuming cages. You need a set amount to begin a process, and that's about it. Oh, I don't have all of the tanks. Oops. So again, I ask, what's the purpose of the cages in the grand scheme of an entire playthrough? What is the purpose when you don't actually end up consistently consuming them in the late game. They're simply a thing that doesn't actually need to exist. Bring me the sulfuric acid. And that should be that. Give me those. And as soon as the sulfuric acid comes in, we are good on that front. From here... Oh, how funny that I immediately need the tailings dust. From here, we're going to take these vitamins and make a ton of blue liquor. But this is the most complex part right here. Like, this is the trick. How are we getting vanadium solution to loop this vanadium solution in the system? Well, we're going to need to make some from blue liquor. Temporarily. Enough to make sure that the system can fully function at the scale that we need it to function at. Now, normally this, I would say, would involve a tank at some point, so we'll have to consider that as well. How much water will this consume? Not much. Okay, we're good. And I may want more than one of these as we go. Or maybe just copy this whole thing here and set those up. That's 4. I need 6. There we go. Well, I think I know exactly how I want to split the tailings dust. When each one is 12 per second, like this, it is very convenient to split into 2s, 3 sets of 2s. I did not maintain particularly good spacing here. Unfortunate. Aw, just too far. But that will work. That will work all the same. And I do have vitamins now. For when I... Oh. Oopsies. Put you down a little bit. Then we've got a little bit more work to do. Ahem. Whoops. I need a 1-tile gap. Whoops. Yeah, that's better. That is better. Vitamins. There you go. Now we can power. Oh boy. Phew. I want my tanks, so I'll go and I'll restock. Let that be restock. Oh yeah, I need to put a I need a Megadar. We must go Mega. Clear up all of this. The Megadars are doing good work. They are revealing the enough of the map that I don't have to worry about like putting down additional ghost lengths, segment lengths, because these actually extend. This unit is larger than the distance covered by a regular satellite that it uncovers over time, meaning that I end up having to manually go out along the edges to reveal the space. I don't need to do that anymore thanks to the power of the Megadars, as long as I have them occasionally on the periphery factories. Makes it so much easier to scale the rail lines, or at least to scale the blueprints for the rail lines. Actually building the rail lines, now that's an entirely different discussion. That will take that takes significantly longer. And no, I am not going to put the entire rail network in a construction zone to make my bots do it. That is a recipe for power disaster. That is just a recipe for power disaster. Even with the speediness of the Mark II Constructo bots, which I have, they're not fast enough. Oh yeah, and all of these need to be that direction. There we go. Okay. Tanks. Give me a tank of red here, so that we're ready once I have the tailings dust brought in. I know I left the extra gap here so I could do the tailings dust here, but you know what, fine, we'll do it here. Tailings dust. Come on down, you need to be reds. Ta-da. I left the space, I didn't even use it. I didn't even use it. And that is that for the tailings. Tailings dust, I should say. They're coming down, and that'll be the blue liquor. The bluest of blue. Why did I have acid strip set up next? I don't remember. I could actually do this anywhere. So I'll do this back here because it's a fluid-only setup. Oh, and wouldn't you look? Wouldn't you know? There was actually another one that did this to me, and I've forgotten what. Was not acetic. Wasn't you. Was it Z3? It was Z3. Oh god. Ahem. So yeah, apparently when you need 3 input fluids, like this, and have 1 output fluid, I'll add, you end up with one of the sides needing different inputs that are directly next to each other. Now this isn't an issue. I can work with this. It's just that it's an insult. Frankly, it feels insulting. Like, really? Really? Because they know exactly what they're doing and how to, like, force you to work around it. This does not make any sense whatsoever, all being boxes like this. But essentially, this is just multi-purpose pipe to ground in here. Like, this is the normal setup that I have, except now we're just hopping over this guy with additional undergrounds. Ah, boy, because we can't have the 2 regular pipes be here overall because they automatically connect. Yes, there is a mod that lets you have pipes be next to each other without connecting. I will not ever use that mod. Honestly, because it ends up being more tedious. I have looked at it in the past. This is advanced fluid handling, by the way. I have looked at that mod in the past, and it adds a ton of pipes. It adds a ton of different types of pipe to the list, and I'm like, I now have to have all of this in my inventory? No. No thanks. What is this? This is the methanol. Methanol next. Because it's like it considers the straight segment pipes that don't touch or connect to the other pipes as different entities. At least that's how it used to be. Don't know how it is now. Not really interested in looking back. It's like, you know, I can just build within the vanilla mechanics faster than I can with this stupidity. Like, I don't care how logical it is for pipes to work the way that they do, or how illogical it is for the pipes to work the way that they do in Factorio, in terms of building mechanics. Frankly, I can build faster within the limitations of the vanilla mechanics than I can using a mod. So I'm going to keep working within the bounds of the vanilla mechanics. Methanol at vanadium. Like, the whole point is to make it easier, not to take more time. Methanol, where are you? Yeah. Bring me the methanol. The alcohol of methane. Alright, and that will be the acid strip. Taken care of. Ah, good. We have some vanadium solution. I hope that 40k is going to be enough. I do hope that 40k of this solution is going to be enough to maintain loops. Because the next step is going to start using this. And I'm going to be removing these evaporators now. Oh, there goes my alarm to say that we are halfway through the stream and when I would usually take a break. I'm feeling okay at the moment, so we'll continue. Definitely want to get this done. Hmm. Okay. I'll need 2 more fluids in and a solid. Oh boy. Well, this will be interesting. I should process / reprocess the used solvent next. Ah, yes, I do exactly that. Really? I didn't bring enough fluid separators for you? Great. Great job. Great job. I guess I'll have to go and restock. Now this will add back more of the blue stuff. More of the blue stuff, the blue solution. The blue liquor. Which is not being used yet in total. So what I need here is prioritization. I need an underflow valve. Because I want to make sure that the blue liquor that's reprocessing this used solvent is getting preferentially used. I want to make sure that I use the output of this to keep the system moving. And then from here, let's not forget about the chromium input. We're going to place it right here. Whoops. There we go. And I, sadly, will be sinkholing the organic solvent out of this. Yeah, I know we're getting 206 organic solvent out of this, but that's only if I'm, you know, using the vanadium. Ahem. I'm not going to be voiding vanadium that's in excess just to maintain 200 organic solvent. That's not going to happen. So we're going to just dump the extra organic solvent here. Okay, next solid. We need the chromium. Does that actually reach all the way? Not quite, dang. Alright, chromium. Request chromium at vanadium. Vanadium pentoxide. Give me chromium. And then I have 2 fluids. 2 fluids that I need. In addition to this, we need the hydrogen peroxide, as well as the industrial solvent. Please reach, please reach. Thank you for reaching. So the one on the inside here is the industrial solvent. Is the hydrogen peroxide, excuse me. The one on the outside is the solvent. Alright, let's bring in some hydrogen peroxide. Vanadium. Go ahead and put that request in. I forget what tab hydrogen peroxide is under. Oh, it was there the whole time? Okay. as well as requesting the industrial solvent at vanadium. Now, industrial solvent lives in, like, fusion, yeah. Ta-da! There's those. What are the 2 remaining things? We need the ammonia, and we need... Huh? Benzene? Ah, right, for the steam. Our ammonia at vanadium. Our benzene at vanadium. Whoops, there was a space. There was a trailing space character. This one was the ammonia. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned. I also doubled my ammonia between episodes. I now have 1200 per second of ammonia in total. It's absolutely glorious. Glorious and beautiful amounts of stuff. Alright, so that should equal vanadium concentrate. This should be full on its output. It is. Just like you should have a bunch of blue liquor. The bluest of blue. Bleu. Bluest of bleu. Part of me wants to put a tank here. So I'm going to. I don't want to get tricked by the pulsing nature of recipes on here. Alright, vanadium concentrate from here. 26? Okay. 26. Alright, sure. Yes, delicious blue. Blue liquor. The bluest. The bluest of liquor. No solids in. So that's that. Minus the water, right? Or plus the water? So I'm going to need 1500 water. But I'm going to do this with a water supply from the top as well as from the bottom. I'm also going to need a supplemental pipe. No, I won't need a supplemental pipe. This is fine. I won't need a ton of throughput of the benzene for this. It'll be a pretty significant amount of benzene, but I won't need gargantuan amounts. So that's 4 of 26. That's 13. Can I even fit all another 13? Short answer is no. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna fit. So looks like I will actually need to mirror you. Ew. Mirroring. You know what? It works for the fluid throughput. It works for the fluid throughput. Means needing a lot more pipe though. Yeah, I'm gonna save a bit of pipe to ground here, even though technically speaking, The pipe to ground is actually cheaper than the pipes themselves. Remember, I am doing advanced casting for these multi-purpose pipes. And for whatever reason, the multi-purpose pipes are actually cheaper to do the undergrounds than the regular pipe segments when doing advanced casting. It's like, what? Why? How? Yeah, it's just the way it is, as it turns out. So I can also have the water on the bottom with this, which is fine. The what? Oh. That don't scale the way that I was anticipating. That will do. So that should be in total 26. Yep. There's your water supply. There's your benzene. Go gadget benzene. I will need more benzene. For additional steam. This is not the end of the steam. I am nearly out of pipe. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it? Glorious. Glorious and beautiful. Right, I need to connect the water for all of the steam. I am officially out of pipe. But these are moving and making Vanadium Pulp 1. Ta-da! Time for a restock! We have a few more steps to go. It's a lot of steps, but it's fine. It works out just fine. So, not that bad. Cough cough, so far. Not so bad. Nothing we haven't really thought, like, it's this is different. We haven't had to do this before. Yeah, we haven't designed this way before with the agitators, but everything else seems at least somewhat familiar. Nothing out of the ordinary. What will be out of the ordinary will be the looping back of this solution primarily. But yeah, we'll talk about that going forward here. Yes, restock. Give me all the glorious things. I don't think I need 60 of those anymore. I just used 30. Or, 26. How many do I still need? A lot. Never mind. This uses an absolute ton of agitators. But early on, if it's the first time you ever do this, or you've ever done this for vanadium, it's completely viable to just do like one of each of the buildings down the line, as long as you understand the logistics. It's only really the logistics that's difficult here. It's a lot of steps, yes, but it's not that bad. People overblow vanadium. The difficulty is understanding the chain in the first place, is actually just getting to this point of understanding what the chain even is. That I think is the thing that people have the hardest time wrapping their head around, is just you're not using a factory planning tool to begin with to help with visualizing what the linear chain actually is, because it is a pretty linear chain with only one little loop in it. This isn't like high grade processing of zinc or nickel or titanium or whatever. There are high grade ore processing processes that I would consider to be more difficult than this and more painful than this. The only thing really painful here is the sheer amount of tailings dust that we need in terms of throughput. But I got it. Is fine. Is fine when done separately. Just bring in those 3 belts to provide enough to make this blue liquor, the bluest of liquor. Yes, we go from being purple to being blue to soon enough being red. Ah, boy. I think I can get rid of the fluid sep requirement at this point. And the methanol reactors can just go. So can the quenching towers and thickeners. Alright, that cleans up a little bit of the inventory. Alright, let's get these pipes and buildings placed. Or building placed. There we go. All good. Now we have to spend this pulp 1. 7 agitators this time for pulp 1. Eating... I don't like that it's eating 2 belts into 7. But the throughputs are fine. We'll deal with it. 1 will be 4, the other will be 5. Or 1 will be 3 and 1 will be 4, excuse me. We're counting to 7, not to 9. And there we go. Remember, I have scaled iron oxide exclusively for this very purpose. So let's bring in the iron oxide. Now, we're like in the middle of things here for the train stations. We'll move over a bit. Ahem. We'll move over a bit more. There we go. Good enough. And bring it down here. Ta-da! Quest! Iron oxide at vanadium. Alright, what are the remaining solids? We need activated carbon and sodium chlorate. And our sodium chlorate at vanadium. Activated carbon. Huh? You're here. You're in fusion. Okay. Sure. And everything else will be going to the right. Are the yellow loaders going to be enough? No, they're not. No, they are not. I will need the reds. I would have been short by 8.3 meters per second. So really only one of them needed to be red, but you know, we'll just upgrade both. Now, if it was the other way, it'd be fine, technically, even though I'm trying not to abuse that fact. Huh? Have I mentioned how much I hate agitators? Oh, look, another bot to kill. No. Copy this. Paste this. There we go. Now, it's going to consider that there's two things of fluid contents here, even though they are separated entirely. Even though they're completely separated, the game is going to think that these are both the same fluid system when they're not. Why? Because this is outputting 2 and this is inputting 1, even though it's not actually flowing between these. It's like, Yeah, and this may cause a little bit of... Oh! Really? It's unfortunate. Oh, it is. It is actually very fortunate. All right. Okay. No plan. No plan. I need to delete the whole thing. Sometimes you just gotta go with a new plan. And do things the correct way. Okay. So it was... 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 3 there. Enjoy. So it's actually convenient, as much as I dislike the way that the fluid mechanics works there, because the next step actually needs an extra space. Yeah, that would not work. That would not work. Here we go again. Yes, the double one tile off. The double one tile off. But it's just one tile. It's just one tile off. Yes, it is. I know, it sucks. Okay, power. Please. Please, power. Power to everything. Alright, now we can worry about these pipe logistics. Time to grab the ammonia. Yeah, stained red with all this iron oxide that we've been picking up. Get back in there, you. All that iron oxide. Get back inside the buildings. Alright, ammonia. It's your time to shine. And that be 2 steps in the process taken care of. Excuse me. You know, it would help if I actually had a regular pipe segment copied for the input. And there we go. That's pulp 3. Glorious pulp 3. Isn't it nice that those are one? Isn't it nice that those are a 1-to-1 ratio there? Isn't it so nice that these are 1-to-1? Alright, now to pressure it. Pressurized. Pressurized vanadium pulp will then be filtered. Oh, glorious filters. Same issue as before. This time I need to have the activated carbon. Come on down, activated carbon. Ta-da! Okay, that is making vanidates. Glorious vanidates. We're closing in. We're closing in on the remaining final steps here. This next step completes the loop. It completes the loop of the red vanadium solution. Oh, did I have a thing for oleocams? Oh my gosh, I miscounted. How did I miscount? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, yeah, it is a lot to have to keep in mind as to what's being provided on the rail network and what's not at this point. Knowing in a base this large what is and isn't on the train network is rather considerable amount of brain power. But also there's another thing to make it more complicated, and that's in some cases I'm making stuff on the train network that I know is on the train network that I'm making local anyway, so that I am not adding traffic unnecessarily to the train network. Ahem. Things like up here at the hydrogen peroxide, I know full well that I have a bunch of aromatics on the train network. I know full well I could actually just scale aromatics benzene in another build and add more trains to the network, but I decided to do it local anyway. So there are aspects of all these things. It's like, okay, I'd rather do local anyway. Like, I should have done casein in a separate build. I did it local anyway to the sodium, to the soda ash regen solution. So yeah, like this entire section of the casein build, because I'm going to need casein as casein for other stuff later on down the line. I was like, oh boy, do I do this here? Do I provide it on the network here? Like, what? What do I do? A great way of knowing what's on my train network is just going through this list. Just it's very convenient that I have Train Supply Manager, because all I have to do is go cycle through the list to see what I have and do not have, or at least to see what I have on this list in here, because that's all the stuff I have on the train network. Yeah, there's other stuff that I'll make local because I know that my production isn't sufficient of what's being provided on the train network at the time. Do I have any waste products that I try to recycle? Technically. No, technically I do. In a few places. It's just not something I try to, like, focus on doing. Like, I talked earlier about the acetone and phenol. The acetone phenol build in here. Like, technically this build, frankly, the phenol is a waste product. To me, I consider the phenol of this build to be a waste product. But I am using it anyway, and I am providing 50 per second, and I went through the trouble of setting up a power regulation system in order to make sure that I'm not voiding both things together if I have enough of both. Really, this is 1,000 acetone per second, but it's also 50 phenol per second, so I am using both of those. I am not using waste tailings. That's not something I'm doing across the base. I am absolutely not using waste tailings. That will not happen. I'm not using the wastewater from various creature stuffs. That's not happening. It's hard to think. Like, at the actual aromatics benzene build, I am using both the aromatics and the benzene and providing them onto the train network. Both of them. I haven't, like, put extra control stuff in here because, I mean, I don't really care. I'm not spending any resources besides power on these. I can keep these moving at all times. The phenol acetone eats titanium tetrachloride, and I would rather it stop when it's not, when it's backed up fully. So there are a few cases where I am making use of the all the products from a system, even though I tend to try to build out factories with one primary output. There are those occasions where I make use of multiple of the outputs. By the way, that would be how I would handle doing the distillates from crude oil distillates. If I were to genuinely want to make use of crude oil distillates, which there are a couple of places where I am. There's one place right now I think I'm doing that with, like, a light oil machine, pair of machines. But if I were to try to do that as, like, a primary way of getting into various petroleum-based products, what I should do, what I haven't ever done, is set up a dedicated factory that's splitting all four products, providing all 4 products onto the train network and stopping the entire system when all 4 are full. Just anding all 4 of those things together, just to make sure that it only moves when it needs to, when we need more of a specific product, and it would void all of the excess of all those other things as well. It's just, when you're full up on all 4, why keep voiding, right? Okay, so this gives me back the reds. I need to loop back the reds. Gee, I hope I did not leave this line open. Great. Great job. Great job, me, for not leaving the line open. Okay. So that's the reds taken care of. The looping red. I need to provide oleochems and vanadium concentrate. Where does the concentrate come from again? Hold up. Where's the concentrate? It's like way back here, isn't it? Yeah. It's here. I need to do one of these. One of those. No solids here as a requirement, so this is fine. Oops, this is going to need to realign. There we go. Bring on the oleochems. This is another reason why I scaled the oleochems up to 300 per second. Even though I would like infinity oleochems, it's just so expensive. Request oleochems at vanadium. Give me those oleos. Where do oleos live? There you are. Oleochemicals. Yeah, oleochems are just a pain. Because you're either spending a frick ton of lard. You also do get glycerol. I should provide that. I should absolutely be providing that, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm actually voiding this glycerol. I should provide that and do the power thing on this. That's absolutely worth doing. The alternative to oleochems is simic, but that's a lot of simic. It'll be better with the upgrade to 120 each later on down the line. Yeah, because then it will be 4.4 rather than 6.6 for every 500 oleochems. Unfortunately, not a productivity recipe, but still, it's just getting this many simic in the first place. That's part of the problem. Unfortunately, the pups here are an 80% chance to get 3 rather than a guaranteed 5. So this is something that gets better at, I think, purple science? Does purple science give me pheromones? Yes, it does. Yeah, I need to pick up Biotech 4, followed by pheromones and actual technology. That gives me that. Does not give me the resveratrol growth hormone. Recipes that requires, it's still a purple science though. It's still a purple science. You know, I have never done this. This quote unquote quotes around mass creature production. You are not going to get mass creatures out of doing this. They are rather expensive. It's rather expensive to do this way. This would be an example of a system that should get used if adding additional science into the game, like an additional Pi Science pack to get at the utility level. If there were some creature where the first creature that you make, some new creature, where the first creature needs to be assembled with this process, that would be an example of something that I would prefer to see, something that makes you do aspects of the mod that aren't currently really used because they're rather inefficient. Things along that line. Was the voiding process included in Pi? The voiding process is included in industry, in Pi industry. You get access to burners, gas vents, and sinkholes. So yes, this is a core part of Pyandons mods. It is built around the concept of voiding things. If you want to void things, you don't have to, but it is simple for those who do want to, which is the majority of people. There's so many. The web of the systems in this game is so large and so interconnected that it is not possible to balance around not having voiding as an option. It's simply not possible to not have voiding. So this looks like it is in fact working. It looks like I have enough vanadium solution here to do this loop. So that's nice. That leaves us with 5 more steps. Only 5 more steps. I should do this flipped. All right, now for acid strip. That's not acid strip. Acid strip. Let's go. All the way back at the beginning. Remember when we made that at the very start? Yeah, now is when we use it. There we go. There's our glorious acid strip getting made. That is making a pregnant divanadium pentoxide acid solution. Yes, that is V2O5 divanadium pentoxide. We need vanadium pentoxide, so we start from here. 3 agitators. These are going to make a little bit of vanadium pentoxide, just a little bit, from our divanadium. We are also going to need sodium chlorate as an input. This is our final solid. the final of the solid inputs. Oh, that actually does reach all the way through. Good. Okay, final of the solids. And I will need steam again shortly. For now, box it. But I will need to make use of it. It'll need to be like, hey, input priority right, as we go. Okay. Next. 1. 2. 3. This needs 191.1, so that's actually 4 oil burners. Each gives 60 per second. 3 would only be 180 steam. That's a good connection point. I will need an output, because we will be having a little bit more of this vanadium pentoxide. Just a smidge more with another input priority right. What's going on here? Ah, yes. There it is. The first of the vanadium. The very first. No solids in, just steam. Okay, give me my benzene. Where did the benzene go? Here. Fortunately, that line stayed clear for me. There's the steam. It's going. And now it's making some glorious stuff that I do need to pipe. Pulp stage 5. Off we go. So that's those done. Next up, 5 agitators. Yep, 5 agitators. It's the same structure as before. Excuse me. Go there. Thanks. This time bringing in more ammonia. Doink, 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 doink. Power all the things. Bring in the stage 5. Bring in the ammonia. Where is the ammonia? It is here. Ooh, really running low on those pipe to grounds. That's operating. And then last up, we have 10. 10 of these glorious buildings here. Clean up all of that trash from my inventory. So I am not going to have enough pipe to ground for everything here, unfortunately. That's very, very sad. Kill the tailings. All tailings must die. Gee, when I said that I was going to do vanadium today, I didn't think that vanadium would be the only thing that we do. Gosh, this has taken over 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes into the stream thus far. And we are only now finishing vanadium. And it's not like well, you know, the first hour was discussion of everything that I did between streams, but you know what? That's just going to be the plan going forward, because I can't sit here for 2 years playing this. I need to get things done. So yeah, because I would rather not be sitting here for many years showing every single moment of gameplay through the entire more than 400 plus hour save so far, and what will ultimately be most likely in the 700 hour range, but we'll see about that. I'm progressing rather quickly at this point, actually. Things are further along than you might think. Things are very far along, actually. So we're sort of stuck on this precipitate now. We need to actually start outputting some vanadium, which just gonna wait on my pipes at this point. And by the way, my locomotive, I think, needs a supply of rail. Oh look, it needs a supply of pipe as well. I'm not gonna bother at this moment to add more pipe. Almost done with the deliveries, just needs that rail. Here comes the rail. Should come in quick. These bots are pretty fast, despite only being Mark 1. Fortunately, with vanadium pentoxide, I'm now able to get into super steel and super alloy. So once I get into super steel, I will have the ability to make the Mark II Logibots. Now that's going to be very nice. The Mark II Logibots are much faster, although they don't look so good. I have never been a particular fan of the Mark II Logibots. The Mark II construction bots are way cooler, even though they're basically just metallic fleas. And then the high-tech bots are cool. It's just these flying beige boxes, not as big of a fan of. The sausage bots look better than these beige boxes do. Anyway, let's finish things up here and get the belt brought down and supplied and have our... station setup going. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do that now that I'm thinking about it. Vanadium pentoxide. There you are. Vanadium. Let's go. Save that. Get these pipes going. And that, as they say, is that. Voila! We have the stuff. Vanadium obtained. Now to run a belt line. Whoops. There we go. Vanadium. Glorious and beautiful vanadium. So, yeah, that took a while. But bear in mind, we're making 15 a second. We're making a yellow belt worth. What is your stack size? 200. 15 times 120. 2,000. Okay, 5 stacks each. Vanadium. S. D. Full cargo. Circuit condition. The first time I ever set this up, it was one building of each of everything. The very first time I ever set this up, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, everywhere. Just ones across the board. And you know what? It's fine. It gives you the ability to make n existent amount of super alloy and super steel. Just an existent amount, and that's really all that matters. It just needs to exist. I'm making 15 because, you know, I want things to happen more quickly, and because I have built the base to support it. I have built all of the remaining infrastructure to support it. That's... yeah. The actual chain is not so bad. The ingredients for the chain is what makes it more difficult. Because this is not an insignificant amount of ammonia. It's not an insignificant amount of tailings dust. Even of the activated carbon, of the oxides here, of the rust. That uses a lot of stuff. It does use a lot of stuff to do this processing of the blood. Processing the glorious blood into our liquor here. Into the glorious liquor. But yeah, that is vanadium. Time to look at using the vanadium. So, of course, two options here. One is super alloy, the other is super steel. And of course, I want to be able to make special small parts, which means super steel is on the agenda. And you know what? It's on the agenda first, frankly. It needs to be first before the super alloy. Super steel is needed not only for the special small parts, it's also needed for the bots. And I want the bots as well. I want the parts because I am considering that brain biocomputing for production science, of which the only thing I don't have to do vat brain biocomputing for purple science is special small parts. I'm still gonna want to do the real purple science process, but by gosh, there's some purple techs I really wish I had right now. In particular, the text dealing with the pheromones, the growth hormones, and the honey. Just in particular, those. There's also like there's all the texts. Frankly, I want all of them, but I want in particular those few that I mentioned. Yeah, that's about it. Oh yeah, there's Carrigan here. Can I even make it? No. No, I don't have that stuff. Could I even do pheromones? Let's be honest. Even if I unlock this, can I even make them? No, not until I have the alien enzymes. I have to unlock biopolymer first. And set up Crydron. So it's like, do I even bother? I don't know. But I do know that either way, I do want to get into the special small parts just as we go. Because I will need them no matter what for purple science. No matter what. It's not negotiable. No matter which way we go, I'm gonna need these. I'm gonna need them to make some production science. Now I have 0.5 here just because I think that matches my chem science output at the moment. Where's the blue science? The blue science was actually 0.2. Oh. As was the pi science. Okay. So the purple science should probably match that at 0.2. Well, that helps with the scale on the Vonix just a bit. So yeah, what's the plan? What is the plan? The plan is steel, super steel. The question is how much stainless am I currently making? Where's stainless? Stainless is currently 19.3 molten. Yeah. And done through the standard way. Okay. I'll mention that there is a better way to get into super steel through a different way of getting into molten super steel. But even though I have all of this unlocked, Fuel Rod 5s require later tech. Because they require yellow cake. I can't make these yet. The tech is not available to me. So, unfortunately, we don't get that more efficient way of making the super steel. What we do have is the more efficient way of making stainless steel. Ish. What is the fuel rod 3? 40% powder. I need to get into 40% enriched uranium powder to do this way. That is a primary thing to do. There's also going to be cobalt in here. I'll have to scale cobalt extract a bit as well. I have to laugh at the really low amounts of nickel and copper in here. It's like, oh gosh, that's not that much stuff, is it? Neocomplex is a little bit more concerning, but I'm pretty sure I have that. Really? 20? Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow, 3 bots today. Let's ban that one as well. Ooh, and it's 11.6 on the enriched powder at 20%. That's a bit much. So, point being, we're not going to be getting this done today. We're not going to have super steel today. Super steel will be the agenda for our next stream, but we need to plan out what's involved, and may start some of this. Do I work? Well, I would need to get into all this uranium stuff first. Do I go ahead and do the uranium? Not yet. I need to scale my gasoline, really, to do this, or the sulfuric acid. Doesn't really matter. But there's also in here the Cobalt Oxide. Now, Cobalt Oxide, this is probably something that we can do, considering I have the ingredients for it. Yeah. I need to look at what of this cobalt chain is used for what. So let's have a look in here. All right, it looks like the only thing, like this is a linear process here. So let's start with cobalt extract and go down the line. So cobalt extract used for fluoride, NiSi, the sulfate, and the mixes here. The sulfate only used to make the clean. The clean is only used to make the oxide. The oxide is used in superalloy and stainless steel, as well as to make the supercrystalline structure, which is used in the cobalt chromium alloy alien enzymes, the titanium cobalt chromium alloy as well. Now this stuff really just for Mark III infrastructure at this point. And it's used in pheromones, a pheromone recipe, the pheromone recipe. So very important stuff. Very important stuff. We need 3 per 100. 3 per 100 pheromones. Just keep in mind that this is highly productive, quote unquote productive. It's highly efficient to make this stuff. It's very high output per cycle. Ave, hello, welcome. Welcome to the end of the stream. The last 23 minutes. You've made it. You have made it at this point. This alloy is bio batteries. Oh, that's very important. Okay. I'm going to want to have infinity processing of this cobalt oxide and likely provide it onto the train network. Yeah. Yeah, this stuff is going to be on the network. Okay, cobalt oxide. I'm going to want 30 of you. Cough, cough, hack, wheeze. This is going to be expensive. Yeah, this is gonna be expensive. I'm gonna want 10 of you. This stuff is gonna come from seashells by the seashore, made out of Zipho, the Zahiffos. Isn't it nice that we can get 8 lime out of less than 0.1 Zahiffos? Yeah, that's pretty nice. That is a ton of leaching stations. Okay. Alright. So, just to summarize, we've done vanadium processing today. We have done the thing. We have slaughtered our Zahiffos into their arthropod blood. We are making our acid strip solution over here. We've got the vanabins, the blue liquor from the vanabins. We've got some vanadium solution into concentrate and used solvent, which is reprocessing into additional blue liquor. Our blue liquor is making the vanadium pulp 1. The pulp 1 is making the pulp 2 and the pulp 3 into the pressured pulp into vanidates. The vanidates make back the vanadium solution when combined with the concentrate, and that produces the organic vanidates. The organic vanidates are processed into the pregnant divanadium pentoxide solution, and that's processing into the pulp 4 and the pulp 5 and the precipitate, which then becomes vanadium pentoxide. Roughly 15 per second, even though it sort of looks like I'm not getting 15. Whoops. Something's potentially a little bit off in here, logistically. Something with... Oh, that explains. Ahem. That explains everything. Yeah, there you go. This whole thing was off a tile. This is why we look and check. This is why we check. Like, oh yeah, I'm not getting all the things operating to get my yellow belt. I have 15 per second vanadium in this factory. It's a glorious factory. Beautiful and wonderful. Not the most complex of the glorious factories thus far, but still among the top. Among them, there are many more that are different in many ways. Not as many steps. This one I think has the most steps so far of the various processes outside of circuits. Like, frankly, all of the back end work in here, getting into the phosphate processing, is a bit much. Yeah. So we're just talking about, well, how are we gonna use said vanadium pentoxide? That's what I've been discussing, and really it comes down to super steel and stainless steel at this point in the game. Super steel and super alloy at this point in the game. So I'm looking into making a rather small amount of super steel, aka 5. For the moment, it's going to use a whole 1.6 of my 15 vanadium. And I was looking at, oh hey, there's some cobalt oxide in here. I'm going to need to do a bit of work between streams here over the weekend on uranium in particular, to scale my uranium and to get the 40% powder, which we've already looked and I've discussed the process of making the 40% powder. Yeah, it's going to use a lot of iron ore dust production that I do already have. Maybe not at the scale I need it to be at, but hey, I'll be spending my time scaling no matter what. So yes, that's going to be my weekend, is scaling everything in the base. And came down to this, which I figured, you know what, we have a little bit of time left. We can work on making processing the cobalt extract into this cobalt oxide here at the end. Figure out a spot to do this. Just trying to get an idea of how much I need overall of it, because we will need this super crystalline structure to get into cobalt chromium alloy. Was it the chromium alloy? Yeah, to get into biobatteries. Which we need biobatteries for control units, for purple science, and a whole bunch of other, or a few other infrastructure things in the end. Also, apparently it's used for, I don't know why all of those tech things are showing up. It might be involved in launching rockets. Right. You need circuit 3s. So, here's the thing about purple science. Purple science needs circuit 3s. Circuit 3s need gold. The gold processing chain unlocks at purple science. It unlocks at purple science to process gold. Meaning you are forced to do one of two things. One is process soot to get a little bit of gold, to make enough circuits, to get enough science, to get the tech to process gold. That's option 1. There's actually 3 options here. Option 2, particle accelerate silver into gold. And you can actually particle accelerate copper into silver into gold. That's option 2. It uses a ton of boron to do this, which is a ton of refined syngas and hydrogen chloride in particular. But that's only temporary, because you could also particle accelerate boron once you get purple science and you get the ingredient that is unlocked at purple science that allows you to do that. Option 3 is VatBrain biocomputing purple science to unlock the gold to do the purple science, the primary method. And I have been looking at potentially just doing VatBrain biocomputing so that I can unlock certain techs. I'm thinking I'm going to do this at this point because of the gold thing with circuit 3s. So it's VatBrain to unlock gold production to do the proper production science pack recipes, which is also going to be temporary because I'm thinking we're switching over to cotton gut science at some point anyway, because we're going to be doing cotton gut utility science anyway, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have excess ingredients to do cotton gut based purple at that time. Okay, all that being said and discussed, we are not looking at biobatteries directly yet. Instead, we're looking at Cobalt Oxide. Now, I very likely do not have 52 leaching stations. I wish I could just click on the summary and have it like give me the ghost entity so that I can just click on the logistics thing. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, I only have 33. Dang. Give me the ball mill and give me the slaughterhouse. Yeah, it would be nice if Helmod let me, like, click a building here in this factory to allow me to put in the logistic request, but oh well. If I click it from the pin, it gives me the blueprint for it and not the ghost entity. It's a blueprint in the inventory, so if I click on this, it's the smart tool. It's going to request blueprints, not the building itself. Ay, ay, ay. I have an Ollie sleeping next to me. He's such a pretty boy. Such a pretty boy. Rolled with his belly facing me. Okay, we have stuff. We don't have 60. I'm gonna go without 60. Just, request half what I need. Fine. It'll work. We'll just plan. Where am I gonna build this? Bearing in mind that I do not, under any circumstances, actually have 8 per second of the extract at the moment. Ahem. Knowing full well that I have to scale up the extract eventually. I'm going to build this over here I do not foresee myself scaling actual Corlex all that much, so we'll build this here. Goodbye, ore patch. Head on up. Head on over. Yeah, I also do not, under any circumstances, have the 857.4 sulfuric acid per second to supply this. Makes me think maybe I should have put this near a source of sulfur to make that sulfuric acid, but too late now. We are on our way. I have about 1,000 total per second of sulfuric acid, and I know I'm using a significant chunk of that. I likely already need more, so adding another thing that's 857.4 is just like a big kick in my teeth. So need to scale sulfur. That's another thing on my agenda. Actually, I need to add that to my agenda. Hey, agenda. Scale sulfuric acid to approximately 3,000 per second. I'm not joking, by the way. Ahem. Scale to approximately 3,000 per second. Yes, I want to triple my production. That sounds about right. 1, 2, 3, 4, of which 2 are solids. Okay, and 2 are fluids. Whoops. Glorious. Alright, give me stuffs. I will unlikely be completing all of the logistics today. We have about 8 minutes left of the stream, so really it's just getting the basics of the infrastructure down. Hey, I thought I put 2. I put 2 of you down. Voila, we have 8 lime per second. Isn't that glorious? Ziffo shells are amazing now. Having this tech that gives 15 shells is great. It saves infinity amounts of coke. No longer shall we coke lime. All right, leaching stations. I'm gonna start with half of what I'm building here. Yeah. Line down, mirrored. Oh, these are all productive. Thank God. I am happy. We actually have some productive processes here. There we go. Offload. And it's 2 ingredients. Okay, there we go. Remembering that this is about half of what I need here, or this is exactly half of what I need here, I will be building it with the intent that it will become doubled again. So there we go. That'll be that. That's the input of the extract. Similar thing here, except each side will be an odd number in the end. Copy this. Whoops. Huh? Oh, right. From there. Copy and paste. Yes, we have the vanadium, so now it's definitely time. Definitely time to be partying. Yeah, this will be built just like so. Whoops. Wrong way. Wrong tile line. There we go. Jump you down, over, split, over, jump, up. Go that away. That'll cover that one on the halfway. And then this time, because this is only 10, can't really cut the 10 in half and have an even number. So we're going to have 1/2 and that's it, and then just have the ghosts ish on the other. But I think I have enough. I do have enough buildings that I can do all 10 on this piece, and this will be one line only. However, it does need a bit more water than 1200, so we're going to have a source at the top and at the bottom. This does help simplify things a little bit, though. With only one belt line needed on the input. Oh, frick. I just noticed. I hate this machine. Ay, ay, ay. So I noticed that the actual tailings is only on the top and bottom when built with this orientation, so I actually need a gap. So, of course, it makes me have to build a little bit differently, but that's okay. That solves it. Of course, voiding the tailings, as per usual. And then, how am I outputting here? Down to there, from there, 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 and there. Downwards. Onwards and downwards. And that is basically that. That is the Cobalt Oxide. Just throw in all the ingredients and that's it. Start getting some power going and yeah. It shall be done. And it happened to be set up just in time. Just in time for the end. Because we have, at this point, basically reached the end of today's stream. Just gonna put in all the power poles and then conclude here. Reminder that this is, you know, really 5 per second of infrastructure because I didn't have enough of the leaching stations. Even though I have all of them here. Gosh. So, what is on the agenda for me for over the weekend in regards to the progression of the base now that we have set up vanadium at 15 per second as well as cobalt oxide here planned for 10 per second? Well, I'm going to need to scale my cobalt extract. I'm going to need to scale and add to my uranium processing. So cobalt extract, uranium 20% more, and uranium 40%. And then all the other things I need to scale, like sulfuric acid, etc., so that I can get into the plan for Tuesday, which is to set up 5 per second of super steel. So the goal is super steel, which means that all of the stuff that's in here that I need to scale, I will have to scale by that time. That being said, I may off screen transition the molten stainless steel to using the alloy mix so that we can actually do more than just set up super steel next time. Ideally, I would want super steel and super alloy together next time. Bit more progress there. So really what I want to get into is the stainless steel mix recipes and scaling up everything so that I can do all of this stainless steel mix shenaniganery. Probably making more than 38.5. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking more like 100 would be better overall, just to make sure that I have enough for some super steel and for more stainless steel as we go, especially when it's when it is a pretty good bonus over the amount of steel that we have to put in here, and when it's not using as nearly as much of the chromium and copper and nickel as I would otherwise think, and it's not a lot of cobalt extract either to even get into enough for 5 super steel. Yep. And since we are absolutely making enough cobalt oxide for this super steel here, which means that really by the time we meet next time, I'll probably just have to make this factory to make the super steel. Like, it'll just be putting it together, putting in the ingredients together to make the super steel, and then we can work on similar amounts of super alloy, which that will be helium, and that can take up the bulk of our time next time. The helium process can take up our time. Yeah. That sounds better, because I have, for super alloy, I have all of these ingredients minus helium. We are ready for super alloy, but for helium. And at this very moment, the super steel is actually harder than the super alloy because we need to still set up enough of the molten stainless, and because we have to set up fuel rod 2s still as well. This is going to take me, well, the bulk of my time over the weekend to get ready for next time. So with that, folks, we have reached the end of today's stream. I would like to thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Showboat. If you have enjoyed today's stream, please be sure to do all of the social and engagement stuff down below the video. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, and hit the notification bell. Consider becoming a member of the channel by hitting the great big blue join button and supporting on Patreon at patreon.com/otakushowboat if you are so inclined and able. I will be back on Tuesday with more. Hopefully I'll be back on Tuesday with more. We're actually going to have Cox coming by, my internet service provider, apparently on Tuesday, and they will be taking the internet down to do work in the area, but I'll know more about that about 2 days prior to them coming out. So we'll see what the time frame is and if I'll need to cancel the stream that day. So hopefully we'll be back on Tuesday. If not, I'll be back on Thursday, most definitely. I'll see you all on the next one.